Hey, what's up everybody? This is Phil from Zaid Comics, the writer and co-creator of Magic Cop, a graphic novel we're launching on Indiegogo in August, and I'm just one half of the two best looking brothers in all of comics. And today we're going to be talking about Swamp Thing, the new DC Universe streaming show that starts at the end of May, and I'm super excited about it. Swamp Thing is a top 5 comic book character for me. I love all the Alan Moore writing of Swamp Thing, and some of the new stuff too is great. Just the character, so many layers to him, and we're going to be talking about the trailer that was put out last week. And it has a lot of little Easter eggs and tidbits to get into. First off, I want to talk about how horror-y the trailer is. Just the music, the score in it, all the sound effects, and the imagery that we have, a lot that we'll get into here, is super horror based, and with the executive producer James Wan being attached to it, who is a prolific horror director. It's going to be crazy. I mean, James Wan also directed Aquaman, which had this huge world building to it. I can't wait to see how they take Swamp Thing's world and expand upon it. Now, I know, I definitely want to address, I know that they have stopped production at this point on episode 10, I believe. They're going to have 13 episodes to rewrite the last 3 episodes. And I know a lot of people, we talked about this in a previous video, they were up in arms. Oh no, this is bad for Swamp Thing. But, you know, they could seem to just be going in a different direction than they were going in before. And I think that's totally fine, because they, died down the flames of that by throwing out the teaser trailer and actually showing what Swampy looks like. And in this trailer, we get to see even more of him and more of the supporting cast and these awesome characters from his universe. So let's get into this. As we can see, we're just going to hop around the trailer that they put out last week. This awesome logo, and the first thing I really want to get into, it starts off with this boat scene, people on the swamps of Louisiana, and hearing some horrific sounds and some vines rumbling around in the water. But the first thing I want to highlight is this little classroom scene here. Now, this reminds me of when Swamp Thing's love interest, Abby Arcane, she works with, at one point in the saga of Swamp Thing, she's working with children, um, children with, mental disabilities that are, it's kind of like a crazy house for kids, they make it seem like. So this kind of reminds me of that, having the children aspect. They really tap into, in the comics, the fear of children, and making it very eerie. And we see this, little lady here, supposedly unconscious with a bloody nose, and the whole class is turning to see what's going on. So just building up the weirdness of it and the horror aspect, because a lot of people give Swamp Thing a bad rap for the 80s Wes Craven movie. It gives it a bad rap because it's weird and not great, and the makeup sucks. But the comics are all horror. It's like gothic monster horror, and it's great. So this is going in a great direction. And the little Easter eggs that I want to pick up, actually we'll see some creepy stuff here. We get very, very creepy undead vine monster sitting up behind Abby Arcane. Now, Crystal Reed, who's been on the Gotham series, she was cast as Abby, and we see her here. They're not going with the beautiful white hair with the black streak. We actually see her with her black hair. I hope that she that changes. We get her to see her in a white with her white hair, and I'll show you a picture of her from the comics in a little bit. And we see like this vine monster who we'll touch on. That might be the Floronic Man. It might be Alec Holland's body turning into Swamp Thing, and they're dissecting him, because I know that they are doing Alan Moore's anatomy lesson, which we'll go into when we talk more about the Floronic Man. But there's one more Easter egg. It's not really an Easter egg. I think, everybody sees it. This guy right here. Now this, I'm pretty sure this is Ian Ziering, who is playing Patrick Cassidy, or who's the Blue Devil. And we see the Blue Devil mask. This is really weird when they announced that Blue Devil was going to be in the Swamp Thing show, because he's a Shadow Pact character. He was a stuntman in Hollywood who was shooting this movie called The Blue Devil, and he was playing this character, and he had this like makeup prosthetic mask and full suit on, and ran across an actual demon from hell, and this demon thought he was a real demon also, and shot him with magic, which infused his body to the suit, and he became the Blue Devil superhero character, later on being actually transformed into a demon character, and he fights crime using like this trident. And we'll actually take a look at the Blue Devil. Right now, what I'm most familiar with him, I haven't read a lot of him, but I've been reading the Justice League Dark series from DC Rebirth right now, and this is one of the covers. The Blue Devil is actually like in charge of Myra, which is this land that Detective Chimp and the Nightmaster would look after. It's like this mystical, kind of like Middle-earth, medieval land. And the Blue Devil got stuck there and is in charge of it now. And he's kind of like leading the troops and trying to rebuild this magical land. Very oddball character to put in this series, in my opinion. You would think that right off the bat, oh, what character are we going to pull in from DC? We got John Constantine. He started in Swamp Thing. He's an Alan Moore character. We have, Matt Ryan, who's playing a perfect John Constantine on the CW. Why not throw him into Swamp Thing and get Matt Ryan to play the rated R version of Constantine in the show, because they could, do whatever they want with the characters on DC Universe. It's like they're Netflix, right? But they're putting in Blue Devil. Kind of weird. I don't know. We'll see. It's probably going to be a subplot. We'll see where it goes. Maybe the Blue Devil's already, been working at this point when the Swamp Thing comes up. We'll see. But, there's the Blue Devil mask. Cool Easter egg to throw in there. The mask looks, it looks pretty cool. It reminds me of the mask from Goosebumps, that the book. And the movie, the Mask version of that. So it was cool to see. And then we see this guy, who is Kevin Durand, who's playing Jason Woodrow, aka the Floronic Man. Now, this is a bad shot of him. I'm not sure if there's a better one, but he played Fred Dukes in X-Men Origins Wolverine, who's the Blob. He's been in Smokin' Aces, or I think that was the first time I seen him. Really big guy, tall, a commanding man who's playing the Floronic Man, which is, from the comics, not that commanding. We'll take a look at him here. He's this like weird, lanky. I always thought he was like such a crappy villain because he's super scrawny, but he's like the male Poison Ivy. It's weird because the Floronic Man was originally his first appearance was in the Atom #1, and he was just a villain for the Atom. And then he was in the Flash, and he was just like this DC villain that was like a male Poison Ivy. He could command plant life. And then Alan Moore is like, oh, I'm going on Swamp Thing. I'm going to take this plant-based villain and throw him in there. And Swamp Thing's, Rogues Gallery, and he plays a big part in the first story that Alan Moore writes for Swamp Thing called The Anatomy Lesson, where Jason Woodrow, he's actually from a different dimension of plant people, but now he's human-esque, and he's investigating Swamp Thing and how Alec Holland had become Swamp Thing. And he concludes by dissecting him that there is no Alec Holland anymore, that this plant life and these small worms ate Alec Holland's brain and took all of his memories and knowledge and made this swamp elemental, and he just thinks he's Alec Holland, but in reality he's not. Alec Holland's dead. He'll never be Alec Holland again, and that breaks Swamp Thing. The realization that he's been striving to be man again when he's this hideous monster, and he'll never achieve that because he's not. He's plant life. He's the green. So I think this image right here, where he's dissecting something. He's dissecting this husk of plant material. I think he might be doing that. Might be from the anatomy lesson, and he might be dissecting what's left of Alec Holland and this Swamp Thing. And we might be seeing, that anatomy lesson. So that's super interesting, really cool. We don't, let me see. And then we see, this is like the ending scene of the trailer. We see Abby Arcane. Like I said, she doesn't have the white hair, which I'll show you guys right here. This is the beautiful Abigail Arcane with her long white hair with the black streak. Super iconic for this character throughout, her lifespan in comic books. She's had this look, and that's how it's like Rogue with her brown hair and that white streak. Abby has this. So we see her in, she's actually standing in the swamp, and this may be the first time she actually sees Swamp Thing. He stands up out of the water in front of her and is kind of stumbling towards her while there is, terror on her face. And then that's Swamp Thing. I thought the trailer was awesome. We got some good information that they're actually doing Blue Devil, really cool. Saw a lot of Abby, saw a lot of Jason Woodrow, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe he doesn't fully turn into the Floronic Man in this one, and they probably won't make him from some stupid dimension. He'll probably be a scientist. I think they may have done this in the New 52, where he's just a scientist and he investigates Swamp Thing, and he finds out how he can control the green also, because actually in the Alan Moore comic he starts eating hunks of Swamp Thing to try to control the green, which then lets him control plant life. So it's really interesting, and like, this trailer is super horrific. There's some other castings that were interesting. I heard that Madame Xanadu is going to be in the series, and we didn't see anything that in the trailer of her, I don't think. Madame Xanadu is like a long line DC mystic character who uses tarot cards to tell the future. At one point she goes blind, and she can only see with the tarot cards in the future and stuff like that. She has a history with Jason Blood, who, man, if he's in this series, that's going to be amazing. Jason Blood's another, top 5 favorite character for me, and shows up in Swamp Thing quite a lot. So Jason Blood and Etrigan the Demon from medieval times, those characters are, they hit home for me. So if you guys liked the video, subscribe if you haven't, and give us a like down below. That really helps. Hit the notification button and go watch the trailer. I might put the link in the description, or you could search Swamp Thing trailer. It starts at the end of this month, guys. I think the last day, the 30th. It'll be up on DC Universe. Go get your DC Universe subscription. You can do a free month or two, I think. They have some great things out. You know, Teen Titans was awesome. Doom Patrol is kicking ass. I'm a little bit behind on there, but yeah, and we're also doing our mailing list still for Magic Cop. So if you guys haven't signed up for the mailing list, go to zaidcomics.com, sign up, and then you'll get a free comic or 12-page short story, and you'll get some exclusive perks if you guys decide to back us on Indiegogo in August. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.